Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, bonjour, abefu, neyi, afono, afosi. Okay. That was it for the greetings. I salute all manu. Una good morning, una good afternoon, una good evening. Whenever this video meets you, receive greetings from me. My name once more is Mabel Obe, the founder and president of Hearts and Hands for the Women and the Family. Now, we are very interested in celebrating the African child because this is the month of the African child. On the 16th of June this year, 16th of June actually is the day of the African child. And this year's theme is Leave No Child Behind for Africa's Development. Leave no child behind for Africa's development. Now, if every child is included in the development process, it implies that these children are very important, and it is necessary for us to celebrate them in one way or the other. Well, actually today we want to be talking about abuse. Now, there are various forms of abuse. Some children are neglected, some are exploited, some suffer emotional abuse, some suffer physical abuse. Most children really suffer physical abuse, and children suffer sexual abuse. So actually today we want to be talking about sexual abuse. Our interest today is the issue of child abuse. That's the issue of child sexual abuse. Now, this sexual abuse, child sexual abuse, occurs when an adult uses a child for sexual purposes or involves a child in sexual acts. It also includes when an older child or a child who is more powerful uses another child for sexual gratification and excitement. That is sexual abuse. For the most part, children who are abused sexually are usually abused by the people they know. They are usually abused by the people their parents, know, but you never suspect, you can never imagine. So you can imagine how traumatizing it is for a child to be sexually abused by someone he or she trusts or knows very well. Now, 30% of children who are abused report this abuse when they are still children. Can you imagine that? Of the 100% of children who are abused sexually, only 30% of them can be able to muster courage to report these people who abuse them when they are still children. Most often, they are able to open up when they are far older, when they are adults. And there are still some adults who are unable to open up, who are unable to say that they were abused when they were children. I remember when I talked about sexual abuse somewhere, and this young adult came up to me and told me that she was sexually abused when she was in the primary school, when she was about 8 years or so. And she had never told anybody until she heard again someone talking about sexual abuse, like boldly. That's when she could be able to come and talk to one other person. So she has been hurting for all this while, but it is a pity she couldn't tell anybody. So that is what goes on in our homes. You know, our dear Nelson Mandela said, and I quote, let me just read please. Our children are our greatest treasure. They are our future. Those who abuse them tear the fabric of our society and weaken our nation. Maybe I should take it over again. Nelson Mandela once said, our children are our greatest treasure. They are our future. Those who abuse them tear the fabric of our society and weaken our nation. Can you imagine that? So child sexual abuse affects the nation as well. It actually affects the nation. It affects the society. Now, if we are counting on children as being part of the development process of our nation or our dear continent, are we not supposed to take care of them in a very special way? Are we not supposed to actually take care of these children? Because by abusing them sexually, we are destroying our nation. We are destroying our nation. Truth be told, sexual abuse has its consequences. It has its effects on children as well as on adults. But our interest today is children. Sexual abuse, steals a child's innocence, by the way. It actually steals the child's innocence. Sexuality is for adults, as I may put it in a typical way. The intimate part of it is not supposed to be practiced by children. Then you can imagine when they are introduced to it in a horrible way. It also affects the child psychologically. A child is not psychologically prepared for sexual stimulation. So if that happens to a child, it horribly affects the child. Sexual abuse, has far-reaching effects that we can never imagine. It actually affects the child's self-esteem. It produces low self-esteem in a child. And if we are hoping that these children are going to be contributing to the development of our nation or our continent or even the world, then their self-esteem to be, it should be high. It should be high. It also destroys their self-worth. They feel that there is nothing good in them. If they were beautiful, if they were somebody, nobody will abuse them in that way. So, and this sexual abuse is really horrible. It causes a child to develop lack of trust in adults. Now, if this child is actually abused by someone he or she trusts, what do you imagine? Who will she trust again? Who will she trust again? Who will he trust again? Nobody. So it develops a tendency of the inability to trust. And when the child grows older, such a child gets married tomorrow, but yet they cannot trust their partner because an adult they trusted some time ago sexually abused them. The effects can be strong that a child can even become suicidal. Yes, a child can start thinking of taking their own life. Why? Because you have stolen their innocence. It steals their happiness. It steals their joy. It looks like I have no reason to live again. So some even actually have committed suicide because they were sexually abused by people they trust. And some are really thinking of committing suicide. So these children who are abused can easily become abusers themselves. They can easily become abusers. So some adults who today abuse others were abused when they were younger. But they were unable to open up. They were unable to talk to anyone. They were unable to heal from that process since it really affects a child psychologically and emotionally. Some of these children can develop an unusual interest in or avoidance of all things of a sexual nature. Some really develop an unusual interest in things pertaining to sexuality or sex. Some develop the interest in watching pornography. Some develop the interest of other kind of things like that. And some become very seductive. They first of all lost their self-worth. So what do you expect? They want to seduce other people so that they should go to bed with them. Some of these ones who take interest in anything of a sexual nature, they now become addicted to sex. Do you know that some people are addicted to sex? Yes. Some people are actually addicted to sex. Some of those ones who have been sexually abused repeatedly, what do you expect? They will now go ahead looking for someone who can do that for them. They will now go ahead consistently. And some of these children end up becoming prostitutes. First of all, they have lost their self-esteem. They have lost their self-worth. So what is there? What are they keeping their bodies again for? That's what one young lady told me. If someone she trusted could do that, to her, so why is she keeping her body? So she is just going around sleeping with any man who is ready to sleep with her. Some of them actually go ahead to become commercial sex workers because somebody they trusted abused them like consistently. Now this is very, very pathetic. Since most sexual abusers are often people these children trust, these children now find themselves in between the loyalty towards the abusers who are adults or the feeling of knowing that this thing is wrong. Now they know that it is wrong, and then at the same time they have a kind of loyalty, a kind of respect for this older person. So they are trapped in themselves. They are unable to speak up. They are unable to speak out. So this thing really, really destroys. It really destroys. And you know that some of these people really want their children. So it also produces a kind of fear and anxiety in a child. You know, we are actually talking about the effects of sexual abuse on children. It produces fear and anxiety. If they hear the sound of a door, you know, they are frightened. Why? That's how the person used to open the door quietly when nobody is in the house, and you know, have his or her way. Some children, you know, become addicted to drugs, substance use, and substance abuse. You know, some adults result in taking alcohol or something of that nature to drown their sorrows, to drown their pains. That's according to them. So too children, you find them taking some strong drugs that are not supposed to be taken, because they want to develop some kind of courage, because they want to develop some kind of boldness, or because they too want to drown their own sorrows. You know, we really think, most often we don't even think that children have a problem, but they too have their own problems. They have their own problems as well. At times, telling somebody is really terrifying, because they're afraid that they might be judged or they might be shamed. Now, I was told this story that this child visited visited a neighbor, you know, when she was a teenager. Actually, when she came back from school and there was nobody, she visited a neighbor. So unfortunately for her, this neighbor raped her. So, and unfortunately again, she became pregnant. She didn't know. So when she started feeling nauseatic, since she doesn't know how they feel, her parents were like, let it not be that you are pregnant. She was like, no, I cannot be. So they took her to the hospital and discovered that actually she was pregnant. Guess what? The parents beat her. They beat her. That's called physical abuse. The parents beat her until she lost even the pregnancy. Now, parents don't even know that children have their own problems. For a child to be sexually abused by someone she trusts, by some neighbor, is already an emotional pain. She's struggling to manage it, and then you add the pain. You pour kerosene into that fire. You add the pain. So we should really, you know, learn how to handle these situations. So most children who are sexually abused, about 20% of them are abused before the age of 8. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Some of the children at home are abused, but we don't know, because we cannot even imagine. We cannot even think about it. Anyway, let me end here for now. We are just running a campaign. We just want to be talking about children, until the 24th of June, where we will do what we call Operation Sponsor a Child in Cameroon Grand Fundraising. We hope that you'll be able to join us, because we want to see how to curb some things. We want to help the children. We want to help the African child. And like they say, charity begins at home. We want to begin at home. We want to begin in Cameroon for now. So we are hoping that you are going to learn something, and you are going to join this campaign, and you're going to, you know, spread the word. You are going to spread the word. If you can share the video, go ahead and share it. Talk to somebody. Once more, I am Mabel Obe. Bye for now.